I really had a hard time figuring out. I thought, well, I could bring a couple of poems, and I might read a couple of short little poems, but then what I really want to read you is at least a portion of an article that I wrote a few years ago, actually 2011, after going to the West Bank on a trip. It's the second trip to the West Bank that I had taken, and so that's of a more serious nature. So I probably won't read the whole the whole article, but portions of it at least. Three haiku. The web through which you speak reveals within the pearl on which you spin. Second one. The poet's a thief who steals wooden heads to carve images of truth. And the third one, poems are merely pretty blossoms of the plant. Its roots lie hidden. So, that's kind of, I've been writing poetry since I was 8, so it kept me sane in grade school. And I don't know if it kept anybody else sane, but there you go. So, let's see. We'll see how this works. So let me get this on here in a way that I can read it. So we arrived in the offices of a new magazine called Birds of Paradise, loosely translated from the Arabic. That's not the Arabic words, that's the English words for it. It was mid-morning on a beautiful October day. Our group was small, all from the Boston area, and we were visiting. For me, this was the second time I had visited. We were in the hands of an American Presbyterian who has devoted the greater part of the last dozen years to living in the West Bank. She knows people, has some facility in Arabic, and knows the culture. And that is, of course, a great advantage. Oops, how do you get rid of... There we go. Sorry. The journey to Hebron took no more than half an hour. And again, I found myself surprised by the smallness of the West Bank. So we went from Bethlehem to Hebron, and it took a half an hour. Of course, we didn't have to stop and wait through 2 or 3 checkpoints, which Palestinians usually have to do. We were a small group of American tourists. So we entered the second floor of a small office building on the outskirts and were greeted warmly, and then ushered into a good-sized room that had been set up with chairs and sofas. We were seated and introduced to 3 or 4 female staffers along with their editor-in-chief, the only man on the staff. Conversation blossomed easily among all of us. Their command of English was impressive. And by this time, 5 days into our stay, we were familiar with local customs, so we were not surprised when trays of refreshments arrived. Water, juices, tiny and delicious cups of Arabic coffee spiced with cardamom and sugar. And then lunch. Immediately after that, we talked for about 10 minutes, and then lunch came. Shawarma, salad, hummus, falafel, labneh, delicious and in abundance, standard hospitality. We learned more about the magazine, and we were given copies of the most recent edition. This is the English translation is Birds of Paradise, and I can't say it in Arabic, sorry. We were asked about our trip, and there was special interest in the presentation we had made to the Beit Fajar Mosque of a letter of solidarity from the Massachusetts Conference of the United Church of Christ, and a dozen other organizations and individuals who had signed on to our expression of care and sympathy for the burning and defacing of the mosque by settlers from a nearby colony of illegal Israelis. So, let's see, going on, we went after lunch, we began the second part of our day in Hebron. We walked out into the souk to the Abrahami Mosque and Tomb of the Patriarchs in the city center. The source of concern for safety was not what most people would imagine, that the West Bank, of course, is full of terrorist Arabs. No. The concern for safety came from the fact that we were in the company of Palestinians in a place that Israelis have colonized, an illegal action by an occupying country. The attitude of these so-called settlers has made life in Hebron miserable and contentious, establishing themselves all over the city. Some buildings have been acquired by Israelis by subterfuge and outright fraud, others by intimidation. The result is that around 400 settlers now occupy dwellings all over the city of Hebron, living on top of the shops and stalls of Palestinian businesses. The Israelis throw garbage from their windows so much that the Palestinian shopkeepers have resorted to hanging netting above their stalls. So it would be like you could look up and you would see these like small, like 3-level, 4-level buildings, and Israelis are living in the top levels, and the Palestinians have shops down here. It's a souk, and so they've had to string netting along the way, and the netting had all kinds of garbagey things, diapers and who knows what that's been thrown out by Israelis, because they're treating Palestinians as though they are nothing more than garbage themselves. So many streets and alleyways have been closed off by the Israeli Defense Forces, which keep 2,000 soldiers in the city of Hebron for the sole purpose of protecting illegal settlers. The IDF have closed many streets, preventing normal access from one place to another. On a previous trip, Christian peacemaking teams showed us the circuitous route that a child in a wheelchair was forced to make to his school each day because of the street closure by his house. As we walked through the souk, we could see clearly the economic depression. It's more profound here than in other areas of the West Bank, which generally struggles due to the Israeli restrictions, tariffs, and simply lack of tourism. Our host told us that because being in the streets here is so difficult due to threats and attacks by Israelis, that they avoid everything but the most necessary shopping excursions. Thus, the shops, the Palestinian shops selling decorative items, pottery, and even clothing are often forced to close for lack of business. As far as who needs protection, it's hard to discover any information indicating that the illegal settlers do. All reports coming from Christian peacemaker teams and other international accompaniers, as well as Israel's premier human rights organization, B'Tselem, decry the harassment that is commonly meted out by settlers to the indigenous population. Let's see, I don't know. I don't want to take too much time, but I could. Am I okay for time? Joy, is that okay? Okay. All right. As we passed one alleyway, our host suggested going down to a home at the far end. The narrow area with closed and shuttered windows, the light filtering down from the blue sky, and the eerie sense of abandoned life was intriguing. As we walked, we casually snapped photos until a threatening voice out of nowhere said, "No pictures, no pictures." The source was Israeli soldiers positioned on rooftops and in windows with their guns pointing ominously in our direction. At the end of the alley, our host led us up to an ancient outside staircase and into a stone apartment on the second floor. This was the home of a 5-year-old boy who had been attacked by settlers when he was outside playing. They had thrown a toxic liquid into the child's face, blinding him. Inside the home, we were introduced to the parents of the boy and greeted with a reserved, watchful friendliness. They have several young children who all sleep in one room. We were shown their bed, which had above it a 3 or 4 inch round hole, a window onto the sky. However, settlers are able to creep over the rooftops and outside staircase, and one night they had come to the roof just above the small window, this small hole in the ceiling, and from there they put a poisonous asp, that's a snake if you don't know, into this window. In the morning, the father found the snake on the bed with his sleeping children, but, as he told us, Allah be praised, it had not bitten them. He had killed it, and he showed it to us. They also explained that they were very fortunate in the matter of their blinded son. International medical people had taken him to Jordan for an operation. All of this story was known to and had been documented by the news magazine, the one that we were visiting. Their poverty and depression were palpable. They showed us a few small handmade things. This family showed us a few small handmade things that they were selling, and several of us gladly bought something. So let's see. I think probably I should bring this to an end. This one particular article is one of 3 articles that I wrote. If you're interested in, seeing any more of this, you can just look. If you look up my name online, you'll find the articles. They turn right up very easily. So that's one way to do it. Or you can go onto the UCC website and find. I believe there's 3 of them in that website. Let's see. Let me just finish this with a slightly different note. Is there hope? Visit and see for yourself the many venues of hope. The news magazine Hebron is one sign of hopeful, loving, and generous people working hard and producing a beautiful magazine whose name in Arabic I dare not write here in case I should compromise them by doing so. Call me paranoid, but when I took pains to remove microchip from my, let's see, let me pass over that. Let's just see. If you're interested in unconventional travel, or simply want to check out the organization that the Israel-Palestine Task Team of the Mass Conference Mission and Justice Commission has designated as its partner for travel, go to ihsholyland.org and so forth. Among other things, there you will find more about medical teams and future trips currently being planned, or respond to the conference with questions and comments for me. So that was my offering after coming back from that. Thanks for listening.